I have the pleasure of speaking to the two-time world champion, Billy Dib. And God knows, I don't think a lot of people understand what this conversation right now means to me in particular, because I always talk about resilience. And I mean, from the get-go, Billy, I don't think people understand how deep you dig every day since the day you were born.
It hasn't been easy, I can tell you that much. It's been a great journey, but it's been one of learning. I'm just grateful for each and every day. And now, after being through what I've been through, I'm so just grateful for time, because you see, time is something that's not promised. We're caught up in this world chasing a million and one things. We're trying to do a million and one things, but time's not promised. You know what I mean? And the people that are around you, the people that deserve your time, the people that you love, and the people that love you, that's who deserves your time.
Amen. Amen. So for those that don't understand what we're referring to, let me just backtrack. You were born and you had lung issues, you had asthma, severe asthma. And, you know, one thing led to another. You ended up in boxing. But then, even in boxing, as good as you were, I just want you to express to me, because you were one of those stars that we were looking at as we were getting closer to 2004 back in Athens, where we got a chance to see, you know, the Andrew Wards of this world, the Amir Khans of this world. And then you were on that side of the world, bringing up, you know, Australian boxing. And something else happened.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, I thought I was destined to go to the 2004 Olympic Games, to join people like Amir Khan and all these great fighters that were at them games. And unfortunately, just due to, you know, an accident, due to my stupidity, I would say, getting on a motorbike, you know, I suffered a horrific bike accident, and basically hindered my opportunity to represent Australia at the Olympic Games. At the time, I was devastated and so hurt, and I just thought, if I don't get to go to the Olympic Games, then what's it all about? You know, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. But I always wanted to be champion of the world. But the Olympics was my first big goal. You know, just to be able to tick that off the box, that I went to the Olympic Games, and you know, and maybe could have medaled. Who knows? You know, you just never know when it comes to the Olympic Games, because it's all about the draw. You know, who do you draw? Do you draw Cuba first up? Do you draw Russia first up? You know, it's all about
Kazakhstan. I mean, especially in your weight division, it was so competitive.
Yeah, it's the luck of the draw. But you know what? Things happen for a reason, and you know, it's so strange, because when I was a kid, if you told me, hey, listen, you can go to the Olympic Games or you can meet Prince Nassim, which one would you rather? I always said, I want to meet Prince Nassim, you know, because he was my childhood hero. You know what I mean? Like, the Olympics was like, wow, that would have been amazing. But if you told me, hey, I can introduce you to Prince Nassim, but you got to miss out on the Olympic Games, would you meet Nas? And I was like, I'd meet Nas every day of the week, you know, because he was just you know, when you have like that childhood hero, that person that you look up to, that's who I looked up to. That was he was my motivation, you know what I mean? Seeing him succeed was what made me want to succeed. And then when I met Nas after the whole motorbike accident, and you know, we hit it off and became like brothers, that was probably one of the greatest moments of my life. You know what I mean? Like, to say that Prince Nassim is like my one of my closest friends, a brother to me, and has been there for me in the most difficult of times. Don't get me wrong, me and Nas have had our differences. You know, we've had our arguments and our fights, and you know, there's been periods where we haven't spoken for some time. But every time that I've been in a moment of despair, or he's been in a moment of despair, we've always been there for each other. You know, it's like when his father passed away, I was one of the first people to contact him. You know, I mean, when I was going through certain things in my life, personal issues, when I had losses, he was the first one to always pick me up. He'd ring me up and pick me up. They're like, listen, you know, once a champion, always the champion. You know what I mean? So like, don't even worry about that. You get that one back. And he was always so positive, and that meant so much to me. So for me to miss out on Olympic Games, but to go on and meet Princess Nassim Hamed at such a young age, at the age of 17, was like truly a dream come true. And you know what, Nassim, like I don't know people how they take him. You know, obviously he was very flamboyant and outspoken.
Mhm.
So you know, you either loved him or you hated him, right? I I will tell you one thing, right? You know, as I said, you know, we had our differences at times, but the one time when I needed him the most, when I really needed him the most, was during my cancer journey. And when I contacted him and said, Nas, I need to tell you something, you know, like I'm in hospital, man, and they've given me 6 months to live. Like the reaction that I got from him was like a silence for a moment. He was like, how's this even real? What are you talking about? And I was like, look, man, I'm fighting for my life, you know, and there's a chance that I might not be around. And I just want to let you know that I love you very much, man. And you know, you've been a huge part of my life. And, you know, you, I went into like a deep conversation with him and basically let him know that he picked me up when I was down. And I let him know, like, you know, even when I was a kid growing up, how certain things would happen in my life. And I would, even though I wasn't connected to him at that point, watching his fights or watching him speak would like motivate me. And so he got a little bit emotional, you know, and then he basically said to me, he says, listen, I'm going to come and stay with you, man. I'm going to come to Australia and stay. And I was like, no, no, don't want you to come, man, because I don't want you to see me in the state that I'm in. It's not in a good state now. And I want you to remember me for what I was, you know, I mean, who I was, and with my hair and all that, you know, like you get a bit emotional, you know, it was like, I'm thinking back to it now and it's making me like sweat because when I was telling him these things, you know, and he was saying, listen, I'm getting on the plane and I'm gonna come and stay with you while you do the chemotherapy. And I was like, no, you're not. Because like there's a sense of pride that you don't want people to see you in that state, you know. And I was in a really bad state, Claudia, you know, like going like the hospital was such a difficult journey. The chemotherapy was like an absolute killer. And you know, you basically have no shame. You know, like you get to the point where you have no shame. Like for me, I was like, I like there were times I couldn't make it to the restroom in time. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, and you have no shame. You're like, I can't do it anymore. But then I would always go back to that one thought, like I can't leave my son. As hard as this is, like how hard is it going to be for my son to wake up and say, "Where's my dad?" You know, like what happened to my dad? You know, and he's only 3.5 years old, so he's not going to really understand. You know, and then time's going to pass, and then he's going to eventually go to school, and his friends are going to ask him about his dad. He's going to say, "My dad died when I was 3.5 years old." I'm like, I'm not going to let that happen. So I'm going to push through, regardless of whatever I'm going through right now. That can't be equivalent to the pain of what my son's going to go through growing up without a dad. And even though, like, you know, time is something that's not promised. And, you know, as I said to you, you know, so many of us out there are so worried about so many things, you know, what attaining money and everything like that. But if I said to you, listen, I'm going to give you $1 million, but you're going to live the rest of your life unhappy and sick, would you take the $1 million? Even if you knew it was going to help you in that moment, you wouldn't take it. If I told you I'm going to give you $1 million, but your mother's going to pass away next week, would you take it? You wouldn't take it. You know what I mean? Like money's not all the all and end all. You know what I mean? There's so much, you know, in life. I mean, obviously money brings happiness in some ways, you know what I mean? Because you're allowed to, you know, it allows you to have that freeness or that, you know, that comfortability to be able to do whatever you want because money, you know, does that. But there's so much happiness in other things.
Happiness and obviously when we talk about life journey, we forget that there's a soul journey, which was one of the things that caught my attention on a regular basis. Your unwavering faith. You mentioned your hair, your eyebrows, everything was gone. And talk about losses. You have lost. And I'm not talking about boxing. We're talking about in life. You faced
Yeah.
death. You faced losses. So you know what it is to be on the other side of this film, of this story. You have lost people that were dear to your heart. And I quote something you said, I lost my heart is gone. So you understood from the other side the pain that your son could have gone through, but still the faith was always there. How do you hang on to that?
I'll be honest with you, right? So for me, I grew up in an Islamic household. I'm a Muslim, you know what I mean? And so for me, my father always raised us like, you know, with the thought process that everything happens to you is only written by God. Nothing happens by accident. And so, you know, one of the most difficult times of my life was when my wife passed away in 2015. And, you know, a lot of people at that time would say, why God? Why did you do that to me? You know, and I often would go to the hospital when Sarah was in a coma, and I'd be like, don't do this to me, you know, like, don't leave me, because I don't know what I'll do without you. Like, what would I do? You know what I mean? Like, you need to be here. I need your support, you know. And then in the end, when things were getting really bad with Sarah, and they told me that she was only hanging on for me, I went to the hospital, and you know, I got there extremely early. Nobody was there. I rang the hospital at like 6 in the morning, and I was like, "Look, I need to come to the hospital early today. I need to speak to Sarah. I don't want anybody there." So they're like, "Yeah, of course you can come. Just don't tell anybody that we'll let you in." And so I got there early, and I said to her, I said, "Look, Sarah, I know this is a really hard time in your life right now, and I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what you're feeling right now." I said to her, "But if you can hear me," and I said to her, "if you can hear me and you've seen something better on the other side, then I'm happy for you to leave. You know, I want you to be happy. I want you to leave if that's what you want." You know, she was in a coma, Claudia, and you know what she done? She lifted her arm, and she lifted her arm, and the arm come down. So I was like petrified, you know, and I thought she woke up, and so I stepped back, and then I called the buzzer, and the lady said to me, "That's impossible that she lifted her arm." I said, "Listen to me. Are you calling me a liar?" I said, "I saw her lift her arm." And she goes, "It might have been a spasm." I said, "I don't know what it was, but I think it was an acknowledgement that Sarah was telling me that she'd seen something better on the other side and she was going to leave." And that night, she left. She actually left. That night, she left. You know, it was a really hard time. It was very emotional because I know, like, her mother was there, her father was there, her grandfather was there, and you know, and her father was reciting words from the Holy Quran, and I was like, it was so emotional, but you know, I promised her that I wouldn't let go of her hand until, you know, until she had left, and you know, and I did that, and you know, it's because I made a promise to her that I would never leave her, you know, until she left, you know, and the minute that she passed away, her mum was telling me, "Hug her, Billy, kiss her," and I was like, I can't. She's gone. I just can't anymore. I can't hug her. I can't kiss her. You know, I became so petrified of her because she turned, like, when I say porcelain white, I'm going to show you my headphones. That was the color that she turned. She turned porcelain white, like she was an angel, you know, and that was what put me at ease. I was like, you know what? I know she's in a better place. So, you know, when I surrendered to God and let God do His business, like, that was where my strength came from surrendering. And even when I was sick in hospital, you know, I basically said to God when I found out what I had, I said, "God, I don't know what you got in place for me, and I don't know what's written for me. But if it's my time to leave," I said to God, "if it's my time to leave, then I accept for you to take me." I said, "But please do me one favor, God, look after my wife and my son." That was all I asked. You know, so in surrendering, that put me at peace. I was like, you know, if I die, then I'm at peace with God. And the other thing was that, you know, there was a few people in my life who had fallouts with, a few people that I had gone back and forth with, and had arguments. I contacted everybody, Claudia, from top to bottom. I'm talking from like the top to the bottom. You know, anybody that I had ever argued with, I rang them up and asked for their forgiveness. You know, even 50 Cent, he wronged me. I never wronged 50 Cent. He wronged me, and he did wrong to me. But I felt to myself like, I got to set myself free, you know? So I contacted somebody in his team and was like, "Look, could you let 50 know that I forgive him?" You know what I mean? They're like, "You don't need to do that." And I was like, "I do." Because you see, the minute that I forgive him, I set myself free. I don't need to set him free. I need to set myself free. And that's what I did, because I often wondered, how did I get sick? I was such a healthy person. I wasn't eating rubbish. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't take drugs.
So
I don't,
how?
I'm clean living. I've never sipped like a sip of alcohol. I don't even know a cigarette. So I was like, how could this all be happening to me? But you know what? I'll put it down to the stresses of boxing. That's the truth. You know, like I would, you know, when I was a kid, Claudia, I dreamed of becoming a 4 or 5 time world champion. You know, like that was my dream. That was my ambition. That's what I believed that I was capable of doing. And you know, obviously, boxing is a very cruel sport. You know, like when I won the IBF featherweight world title, and I was signed to originally to TMT Promotions with Floyd Mayweather and 50 Cent. People will never understand what I got caught up in. I was caught up in the middle of a Floyd Mayweather and 50 Cent feud. You know, like you can't win. It's just a
I remember
and
that.
and 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 Floyd made me so many promises. Floyd made me so many promises, you know, and he didn't deliver, you know, and that was on the fact that him and 50 Cent were falling out. And a lot of people wouldn't even know this, but you know, I was set to defend my title on the undercard of Austin Trout versus Miguel Cotto in New York at Madison Square Garden. And I was
I
fighting
remember that
Jason
fight
Velez.
clearly.
Yeah, and you know what? Like Floyd Mayweather got me blacklisted off Showtime. He rang Showtime and said, if you put him on, you know, you can forget about doing business with me. Like that's how powerful he was, you know, and like to blacklist a kid, I at the time was 26 years of age, you know, like living my dream, you know, and like for a guy like Floyd, he did that to me. He because of his situation with 50 Cent, he did that to me. But all of these things, all of these stresses and going through all of that and, you know, trying to, you know, get paid fairly and worry about the persons that you're getting paid. And then to finally come through at the end and be like, you know what, I'm sick with cancer. I was like, the only way that this could have happened to me was through the stresses of boxing and, you know, all of the hurt that I had felt from the sport of boxing. You know, like when you know, when I lost my world title, that I lost my soul that night. You know, like a part of me was broken. That was it. When I lost the title to Evgeny Gradovich and believing that I won the fight and having like 50 Cent and Sean Gibbons and Lou DiBella get in the ring and say to me, "You've won that fight," and then to lose a decision, I was like so heartbroken. And sometimes you never come back from that. And even though you know the hardest part of my life, I would say, would be losing Sarah. That would be probably the most difficult part of my life. That night, losing that title to Gradovich would definitely be up there as one of the most hurtful nights of my life. And you got to understand, I challenged for world titles after that as well, Claudia. But I just was never the same again. You know, like I just didn't have that.
Your soul,
Something was broken.
your soul was
Something was
broken.
broken.
Your soul was
Yeah,
broken,
something.
especially when you mentioned something when we were talking about Nas and how you didn't want him to come over. A fighter is a fighter is a fighter from beginning to end.
Yeah.
One of the things a fighter always holds on to, and it perhaps is the last thing a fighter loses, is their ego. So it's funny because in the same sentence, you mentioned the word surrender. How there was a point where you lost all control of your life and your what you knew was clear and fair at that moment was totally gone out the window. You had to surrender. So it's funny that you say and mentioned twice already that you can never come back from that. The truth of the matter is, the strength within you is so there that you have come back from that, not once but twice, from having your heart and your soul broken. Because a loss is a loss is a loss. I mean, if we talk about the greatest fighters of the world, even let's talk about Prince Hamed. I assure you, if you're not a diehard fan, you would never know how many fights Prince had, or who did he lose to, or how he lost to. We just know he was a great fighter. But people don't remember his record. People
Yeah, I know.
don't you know what I'm saying? But
You know, Claudia, you know, I've had an amazing career. Like I've had a really, really good career. And then, you know, it's not until I got sick with cancer that I sat back and I started to see, you know, what, wow, I really did achieve a lot, because winning a world title is not easy. Like becoming a champion is not easy. And the truth is that, look, in my career, Claudia, I have 6 losses. I have 6 losses, but I can tell you the losses that I've had. I lost in a WBO world title fight to Stephen Loeveno. I lost in 2 IBF title fights to Evgeny Gradovich. I lost to Takashi Miura in a WBC world title. I lost to Tevin Farmer in the IBF world title, and I lost to Amir Khan in the WBC international world title in the welterweight division, which is like crazy, like that this featherweight moves up to fight Amir Khan. But the 6 losses that I've had have only ever come at the top of the tree. Like, see, I either competed at the top, I won, or I lost. I never lost a mid-range fight. I never lost a 10-round fight. I never lost a 6-round fight. I only lost at the top. And obviously, when you're facing the best in the world, there's a chance that you're going to win and you're going to lose.
It's
You
a
know, that's just boxing, right?
50-50.
Yeah,
Welcome
it's
to, and the fact that you did it at featherweight and then super featherweight, and the fact, let's be honest, the accolades were there, the recognition was there. You know who didn't see it?
me,
You.
me. It was me. When I was champion, I was I can't explain to you how amazing the journey as a champion was, because as a champion, you had access to things that people couldn't have access to. It was like the champ is here. You know what I mean? Like, so I supported a football team in Australia. You know what I mean? Like, my team was the St. George Dragons. I started getting like going to their change rooms, hanging out with them. It's like, this is something that doesn't happen to a regular Joe Blow. And I was like, man, I'm actually the champion of the world. You know what I mean? So like, I really did soak it up. And I just feel like it didn't last long enough. The journey didn't last long enough, but it's everlasting. It's like Nas said to me, he goes, once a champion, always a champion.
Always
So
a
it's everlasting. But wherever I go, it's like, hey, Billy Dib, you're the champ. You know what I mean? Like, thank you. I appreciate that. I will tell you a really cool story, Claudia, because in 2015, so I lost to Takashi Miura on the same day that Floyd Mayweather beat Manny Pacquiao. I lost to Takashi Miura in a WBC world title fight. And I was winning the fight. It only lasted 3 rounds, but I was ahead on points at the time when I got stopped. And like, when I came back, and then Sarah passed away in the same year, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. I was a bit lost. And it wasn't until I looked back at a text message from Sarah. It was the last text message that she ever sent me. And she said to me, she said, when you're happy, we're all happy. Just you need to do what makes you happy so that we can all be happy. Because I was always trying to please people. It was all about pleasing people, doing things for other people, not myself. And, I was going to retire from the sport of boxing at that time because that's something my siblings wanted, or my dad wanted, or my mom wanted, but it wasn't what I wanted. It was what they wanted. And I was always about pleasing people. And in the end, I said, you know what? I'm not going to please anybody anymore. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I want to work myself back to a world title opportunity. And that's exactly what I did. See, I did lose that fight to Tevin Farmer, but there was a victory in that, because I proved to myself that no matter what you're going through in life, and the message that I'm trying to give to the world is that no matter what you go through in your life, no matter the adversities that you face, no matter the ups or the downs, if you believe within yourself that you can get there, you will get there. It's like you have a vision, you're consistent in your vision. In the end, you'll only find success. And that was the journey for me with Tevin Farmer. Like, I was consistent. I had the vision that I'm going to find myself back in the world title fight. I said it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get there, and that's it. My vision was there. My consistency was there. I trained, I fought, I won, and I eventually worked my way back to the #1 position, where I ended up fighting for this vacant world title against Tevin Farmer for the IBF title. And, there was a moment in, like, I think it was like round 8 or round 9, where he knocked me down. And when he knocked me down, I was on the canvas and I was basically kneeling, and I could see my whole family in front of me telling me, come on, get up. In that moment, it's so funny because the referee only counted to 7. But in 7 seconds, I saw my whole life flash before my eyes. I saw everything that I'd been through. I saw Sarah dying. I saw me putting Sarah in the grave. Like, all this stuff. And then I saw the message from her that you got to do what makes you happy. And, in that moment, I got up and I won the next couple of rounds in that fight. And even though I lost, there was a victory in it, because I proved to myself that I could get back to that point. Like, the victory wasn't in winning the title. The victory was just arriving at that point. And people will never understand the personal things that you go through. So not everyone's going to have the best life. We're not all going to have the best life. Not everyone's going to have this honky-dory, amazing life. It just doesn't happen, like
There
the
is no
lifestyle
such
that you...
thing. There is no such
No,
thing.
you know, like, we can only go off the example that we see Floyd Malva, right? Floyd Malva is this really amazing fighter who's got millions and millions of dollars and, you know, living this extravagant lifestyle. But I can guarantee you, behind closed doors, that man is in turmoil, you know, like, because no one's living that perfect life. You know what I mean? Life wasn't supposed to be like that. We're all supposed to face hardship. We're all supposed to go through ups and downs. And, you know, and that's what leads me to the point of where I am today. You know, I've just written my autobiography. And the thing is that I wrote the book and I put it out there because I want to travel the world and I want to inspire the world through keynote speaking and telling my journey. And because I'm not speaking about somebody else's issues, I'm telling you about my own. And we all go through our own issues, you know what I mean? But a lot of these great keynote speakers out there speak about other people's problems. I'm telling you about my own situation, about how I've overcome my own demons in my own life, because that's what it's all about. I think life is about inspiring other people and leaving people with a smile. You know what I mean? Like, I choose to touch people in a way where I can motivate them. You know, I don't want to, you know, you can either shed light on people or you can either shed darkness. And I like to shed light.
And it's much necessary, specifically because we're living some difficult times, be it financially, socially. I mean, there's always somebody in despair at any given moment, even during the day. I mean, things can change, like you just said, in a drop of a dime. So going back to the diagnosis and how you faced this crucial moment, you do have a baby in the house and you're looking to become, you know, a survivor. But this is what it's almost the way I saw it, and please forgive me because I might be putting words in your mouth. When we're listening and we're reading to the news, in my head I said, Billy's prepared for this. There is no losing, there is no quitting, there is no giving up in Billy. And I remember I texted you, I said, you got this.
Yeah.
There is no question in my mind, in my heart, or in my soul. You got this. But that was me watching you. But like I said, you had the credit, the accolades, the everything. The only person that didn't see it was you. Did you see that you had all the tools to work through this?
You know what? I did, because when I was Claudia, I'm just going to paint the picture to you exactly what happened to me. So here I am sitting down, you're sitting directly in front of me. And that's exactly what that doctor did. He sat directly in front of me and he said to me, do you know how severe your cancer is and to what extent, you know, how severe it is? And I was like, not quite. Because I was saying to him, I'm not doing chemotherapy. I don't want no part of it. And he said to me, I need to tell you something, right? And he goes, can I speak in front of that woman there? And I was like, that's my mom. So anything you could say to me, you could say to my mom. And my mom had just got through telling me, there's nothing wrong with you. I know this. I feel it in my heart. I'm a mother and there's nothing wrong with you. You're going to be fine. Then he comes in and says to me, you'll be dead in 6 months. And when he said that, I looked at my mom and I just smiled and I said, I looked at her and the more I looked at her, she just started crying. And I said to him, look, what do you mean I'll be dead in 6 months? He said, you could be less. He goes, I don't want to scare you. He goes, but it could be less. He goes, if you dabble with trying to find other therapies and stuff, he goes, it's just time lost. And then I said to him, I need to tell you something. He said, what is it? And I said, I got a son that's 3 years old and I need to walk into school in 2 years' time, so I can't die, man. And he was like, he looked at me, he's like, well, I can help you. And I'm like, what do I need to do? And he said, you need to start chemotherapy yesterday. And I was like, I'm on board. And he's like, just like that. And I said, just like that. And he goes, can I ask why? And I said to him, we always need a why in our life. And I said, my why is my son. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to go through the pain of this for my son. But you have to understand, Claudia, it's like I was so fearful of chemotherapy because I saw what it did to my wife. My wife didn't die from the cancer. She died from the chemotherapy. And I was scared. I was petrified. I was like, man, this is not going to be easy, you know? And then he said to me, you know, this is going to be a really difficult journey in your life. And he goes, but you'll get through it because you're young, you're strong, you're fit. And I was like,
Clean. And you've led a clean life.
yeah, I said to him, I said, is that a protocol thing for you to say? And he says, why do you say that? And I said, because you told my wife that same thing. I said, not you, but one of your colleagues said the same thing to my wife and she died. And he goes, well, that was her journey and this is yours. And so, you know what? I started the chemotherapy journey the following day. And as soon as I walked into the hospital, I said to my brother, my oldest brother, I said, Joe, I need you to do me a favor. And he said, what is it? I said, I need you to write on the wall, get up, you son of a bitch, because Leif loves you. And he goes, you sure? And I said, I want you to write that exactly that. I want you to write, get up, you son of a bitch, because Leif loves you. And people might know this quote, but that's from a Rocky movie. That's when Mickey says to Rocky, get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you in Rocky 5. And that was my go-to quote. Like anytime that I looked, like felt like I was not well and on the verge of like passing away, I'd look at that and I'd be like, I'm going to get up. And there was times where I felt like I couldn't get up and I rang my wife and I was like, listen, I need to tell you something. I love you so much and I love Leif. And I just want you to let you know that just do everything you can to give our son the best life because I don't know if I'm going to make it out of this. And she's like, look, I can't talk to you right now because I got to go. We've got some people with us. And I was like, no, I need to talk to you because I don't know if I'll be around tomorrow. She's like, I'll speak to you tomorrow. And then the next morning I woke up. This was after a 23-hour chemo infusion, which was like ripped my heart and soul out. And she rang me the next morning at like 6 in the morning, and I answered the phone. I was like, "Oh man, I'm alive! I can't believe it! I can't believe I made it through that." You know, it's like something that I can't explain, Claudia. It's you know, I don't wish it upon my worst enemy. If I had an enemy, which I don't, I wouldn't wish chemotherapy against him. You know, it's like just such a difficult journey in people's lives.
How advanced? So I don't mean to bring this up, but just for people to understand the severity. What was your diagnosis and how far advanced was it?
I had non-Hodgkin's Burkitt lymphoma cancer, and I was at like a really severe stage. I was basically starting to not look well. My color was starting to change. My skin was starting to flake up. So it was like I wasn't well. I was in a really really bad way.
Did you feel did you know that there was something wrong?
No, I mean I wish I sort of looked back at Sarah's you know journey because Sarah was extremely tired all the time leading up to finding out we had cancer, and that was me. I was always tired and always sleepy and sleeping on the couch, and you know, and I just put it down to training. I was like, I'm training so hard, so I'm like, you know, because in my mind I'm getting ready for this George Kambosos fight. So because you know I had been in talks with
Mhm.
Lou DiBella about possibly fighting George, and so I was training extremely hard, and I thought, you know what, it's because I'm getting tired because I'm like training really hard, but it wasn't that, you know. And it wasn't until I was in the gym one day and I got hit with a body shot, and I was like, that feels really really sore, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but that feels extremely sore. And you know what? Come to find out, there was a tumor in my stomach and had been ruptured from the body shot. That was what basically brought it on. So had that not happened in the gym, I wouldn't have found out. I may have like been far too gone for the chemotherapy to work. I may have been riddled with it because when I was when I went to see the doctor, when the doctor came to see me, he said to me, he said, "Listen, you're riddled with cancer. You're riddled. You got no time to waste." So, you know, I just like, as they say, you know, I bit down on the mouth guard. I said, you know what, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through it. And as hard as it was, those days that I cried, those days that I had like tantrums, there was the days that I, you know, wouldn't speak, but I got through it. I got through it. The one thing I will say is that I wasn't rude to any of my siblings. I wasn't rude to my mom. I wasn't rude to my wife. But I would just go silent. I wouldn't. They'd come and spend the day like because you know the hospital had this situation where coronavirus was still around, and you can
Yes.
only have one visitor a day. And like I would often tell whoever came to visit me if I knew I wasn't in a bad state, I said, "Look, I just want to let you know I'm not in a good way today, and I don't think I'm going to be very talkative, but I just wanted to apologize up front for that. Like, don't worry about it. We're just here for moral support. If you need us to get you a drink, you need us to help you go to the restroom, whatever it is that you need help with, you just ask." Don't talk. We're not here to make conversation with you. Just let us know whatever you need. And that was like that meant a lot. And you know, my brothers probably they know this already, but I hold them in such high accolade, and my brothers, I'm forever indebted to them for being there for me during that time. You know what I mean? Like they just didn't let me die. I remember my brother Muhammad rang me one morning at like 6 in the morning and said, "Listen, I got the greatest feeling that you're gonna get through this, man." He goes, "You're gonna get through this, and you're gonna go on to inspire the world with your journey." He goes, "Because you've been through so much, but God keeps testing you because He loves you." He goes, he goes, and I'm envious. I'm envious of your relationship with God, because if God didn't love you, He wouldn't be testing you this way. And that was such a beautiful thing to me.
Those are words with a lot of weight, because somebody else, like I said when we started this interview, unwavering faith. Somebody with just a little less faith would say, "Really, dude, really? Here we go again. What the what?" And
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure you said that to yourself. And I'm pretty sure you walked through that or even prayed your way through it. But the one thing that was consistent in this process was you were blessed with great company, both real and spiritual. You were blessed with a lot of love. Your son was your inspiration. So looking at those non-material blessings, you are the most blessed man I've ever met.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. I definitely feel so appreciative of time. You see, time's something that's not promised, Claudia. And, often people die in a car accident or get taken without telling people that they love them. But here I am speaking to you, and I can openly say to you, Claudia, I have so much love and respect for you. I was able to tell my wife that I love her. I was able to tell my mum that I love her. And God gave me an opportunity to put things in place. God gave me an opportunity to clean my slate, to make amends with anybody that I was falling out with. And so, sometimes people get taken in a car accident and they don't get that opportunity, or they get taken in a motorbike accident, or they die in a tragic way. God gave me an opportunity, and He's giving me more time. So I just appreciate all the time that I have right now, and I'm just so thankful. And as I said, my aspirations now are to touch the world and to tell my journey and to inspire people to chase their greatness.
I want to touch upon that in a little bit, but I also, you are a champion, always been a champion. When you have this possibility to look at your timeline, how big of a chunk of your life is boxing now in terms of priority, in terms of time invested, in terms of priority? Let's just call it priority.
Yeah. Look, boxing will always be a part of my life. Boxing gave me the platform that I have today, so I'll always love boxing. I love boxing. The relationship that I have with boxing is one that will be never taken away from me. You could never take that away from me. It's like it's a loyalty thing. The boxing game is something that I'm loyal to. But I'm just grateful that boxing gave me the opportunities that it gave me. And it allowed me to make the friends that I made. It allowed me to touch the people that I've touched. And it allowed me to have this platform to inspire people to chase their greatness. That's what it's all about. See, I said to you, we have an opportunity in our life to shed light on people or shed darkness. And through the sport of boxing and through my achievements, I get to shed happiness and light. And that's what I wanted to do.
You mentioned that in this process, you're writing your autobiography. So when can we expect that to be published?
It's out.
Oh, really? When?
It's out. And I'm going to send you a copy. So you can actually purchase it at billydib.com.
Okay.
You can actually, it's called a True Heart, and it's called The Fights of My Life. And it's not a book about boxing. It's a book about life. It's a book about overcoming the odds. It's a book about overcoming the adversities that life throws at you, And so the book's done. It's on the shelves. And, after this, you're going to send me your address, and I'm going to send you a copy of the book because I can't wait for you to read it.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely going to put it in all our social media and all our platforms. But more importantly, when Billy decides I gotta touch people, what is for you the most important way, or how do you want to go about that to bringing that message of light to people?
Well, the best way that I can put it is that there's a lot of people out there that need help, and I often tell people if you need anything, you can call upon me on any social media platform. I'll respond to anybody and everybody. You know, I want to be there to help people. I want to be there to pick people up. And so, you know, eventually my goal is to, you know, do like an online course where I could speak to people and, you know, we can connect. And that's what I want. I want people to feel like they can connect with me. I don't want to feel like I'm unreachable. I'm not unreachable. I'm reachable. If you need me, if you need somebody to lean upon, you know, like I actually put that out on a social media post. If anybody's going through cancer and needs to have a chat, call me, you know, message me. And I received hundreds and hundreds of messages, and I'm been talking to loads of people that are going through it now. And that's what I want. I want to be able to like help people through their problems. And I want people to understand that if I can get through it, you can get through it. I'm no more special than you are. I'm just the same person. You know, we both got the same limbs, you know what I mean? We've got a brain, you know, we function the same. If you've got that issue, I'm here to help you.
So we're waiting for obviously the opportunity to read the book. I am dying to have, hopefully if we can, maybe once a month to touch base, because there's so many facets to your process. There's the faith, there's the resilience, there's the grit. I mean, and all that makes up a world champion. You know what I'm
Thank you
saying?
so much. I
And
can't
one
thank you
thing
enough,
leads to
Claudia.
another.
You know what, Claudia, what I will put it down to is that, you know what, when I was in a moment of despair in my life, so many people reached out. You were one of the people, Eddie Hearn, Lou DiBella, you know, the list goes on, Amir Abdullah, Badu Jack, all these amazing people who like were my support network, you know what I mean, who made sure that they checked in on me on a regular basis. And that's what you got to do as a human, you know what I mean? When people are down, you got to lift them. You got to do what you got to do. And that's what these people did for me. That's what you guys did for me. You guys lifted me in the time when I needed you the most.
Well deserved, well deserved, an example to follow, and obviously a whole brilliant light to guide many of us. And so now we know where you're emotionally, where you're spiritually, but now physically, where do you stand? What in the whole process, where are you now?
I'm getting stronger. Every day is a step closer to full recovery. You know, people often ask me, you know, would you fight again? And I'm like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'll have a farewell fight or an exhibition or something like that. But at this stage, you know, I'm just, as they say, happy to be alive, happy to be there for my son. You know what I mean? Watching my son, you know, do the things that he's doing now, it just gives me so much happiness because I just feel like I, I could have been gone by now and not witnessing these things. So every day for me is a blessing.
Well, every day for us to have you around is a blessing, and I'm so glad we had a chance to connect. I just want to make sure that everybody that's going to be watching us understand this is not just the opportunity to share with us your experience. This is literally an example of life in terms of everything that you've overcome, that you've actually put your mind into every desire and dream, and you've set goals that you've achieved. And moreover, even though you have a couple bumps, you've actually, with a lot of grace and gratitude, you've come out with beautiful colors and smelling like roses. So it's an honor and a privilege to be able to share these moments with you. And thank you for allowing us to be privy to your journey.
Thank you so much, Claudia. I appreciate you so much. And to all the fans out there, all the boxing fans, I love you guys so much. You know, I am nothing without you guys. And I appreciate all your love and support, all the prayers that you guys did for me. I'm forever indebted. You know, you guys have given me an opportunity. Maybe through one of your prayers, I'm still here today and I have the opportunity to be there for my son. And I can't thank you all enough for that.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Billy. And
Thank you.
I'm going to say goodbye, but this is, hopefully we'll get a chance to do this more often. Thank you for your time. I know you're all the way in Australia, but thank you for your time and your space.
Thank you.